Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr.
Who is Dr. Destroyo?
Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? Who is Dr. Destroyo? I am Dr. Destroyo. From the Death by Media Man podcast show, it's Dr. Destroyo. The story of the world's first true supervillain. We're telling Dr. Destroyo in sequence every 2 weeks. So if you haven't listened to the first episodes, go back and start there. Then, this will all make a lot more sense. Chapter 65. I bottomed out, and then I just sat there at the bottom, looking up. And then after a while, even that wasn't enough. So I started floating back towards the surface. I took some time, and I started to get serious. I started eating better, only having pizza for 1 or 2 meals a day, and then consuming some fresh fruits and vegetables. I went out and bought some little weights, too. Nothing serious, just a couple of 12-pound dumbbells, and some of those little hinged things you can squeeze in your hands to strengthen your grip. And I began doing online research, reading up on weapons, techniques, opinions about things. I found a webpage that was full of useful self-defense stuff. Don't think strictly about punching or kicking your opponent. Rather, consider methods of disfiguration and mutilation. It only takes about 7 pounds of pressure to tear off a human ear, and nostrils are even easier to tear open. Once you've gouged an eye out of, or into, his skull, even a man twice your size will back down a bit. And my adversaries were never any further than a few clicks away on my computer. Rex's challenge was easy to keep track of because he wanted to be found. He wanted to be a public figure. He was on every form of social media that was available online, and he gave regular status updates all the time. Just ran a patrol through the east side of town with a new ally. He's new to the world of costume crime fighting, but full of heart. Just had a great 3-mile run, feeling pumped and positive. It seems like Terminal City is full of heroes. The villain doesn't stand a chance. Wow, almost 1,000 fans for our social media page. Thanks for all the support, everybody. Together, we will take down Dr. Destroyo. Join the fight to make the world a better place. Stand united and proud. I found his constant need for friendly affirmations to be more than a little insufferable, but not unexpected. Rex had taken on the role of the public hero, and he was determined to live up to it as proudly as he could. The non-stop positivity was even kind of impressive, in a grotesque way. Rex's challenge sounded like I could put a bullet through his brain, and it wouldn't even scar his sunny disposition. While Rex's challenge was running around the city, chasing my shadow and updating the internet on his progress, I was hiding deep in my apartment. I was lifting little weights and thinking little thoughts that I hoped would harden my heart into a heavy Zen weapon. The sort of sword I could use to strike down any enemy. I kept up to date on what I needed to. I followed the important stories, and the rest of the time I just worked on myself, improving and upgrading my body and mind in almost imperceptible ways. Meanwhile, out in the real world, wherever that was, the public was speculating on my existence, my absence, and everything in between. I caught a bit that was playing on an early morning show as I pounded out a few dozen push-ups on the floor. Well, it's been several weeks since anybody has heard from our city's least favorite resident, Dr. Destroyo. A few weeks, huh, Amy? Well, once again, people are asking, could he be gone for good? I sure hope so, Chet, but it's hard to say for sure. Now, weren't you saying that you heard a new take on this whole who is Dr. Destroyo mystery? I sure do, Amy. I mean, it's not my theory, but I did read online that some people are suggesting that Wayne Boudreau was really Dr. Destroyo. Wayne Boudreau? But he was the solution, wasn't he? The masked man and supposed hero who was publicly gunned down by Dr. Destroyo downtown? Well, Amy, this one theory is suggesting that maybe Wayne Boudreau had been Dr. Destroyo all along and then later invented the solution to battle the Doctor. Even though he was both men? Even though he was both men. Amazing, Amy said, clicking her teeth as she made that irritatingly laugh-like sound. So, would he still be considered a murderer under those circumstances? Well, what if, and I'm just playing devil's advocado here, what if the man who had shot the solution had just been another one of those homeless drug addicts? Like maybe somebody who didn't even know the gun was loaded. What if it had all been an elaborate ruse, like a bizarre new form of some sort of suicide ritual? Wow, Chet, said Amy with the smile of a drugged shark. That would be pretty crazy. But is it possible? Well, Amy, while the facts are still uncertain, our most recent internet poll said that 69% of our viewers think the solution and the Doctor might be somehow connected. 69%, Amy. Wow. Those are impressive numbers. It was a cool idea, enough so that I almost wished I'd come up with it. Hell, maybe that had been Wayne's idea all along. Supervillain-assisted suicide. Maybe he'd sought me out for that purpose, with his costume and his money and his paper-thin threats. Like an elephant seeks out its communal graveyard. Like an old house cat crawling off to die. The thing is, another commentator explained on a slightly less asinine show, he could die at any time, through any random occurrence, and we'd never know. The man we know of as Dr. Destroyo could be hit by a bus tomorrow. And then what? Unless he had the mask in his pocket along with a signed and preferably notarized confession, we may never be sure. He may just, someday, stop making public appearances, and that will be that. Every once in a while, a body will turn up and we'll have to wonder, is Dr. Destroyo still somewhere out there? And we just won't know. Yeah, they had to wonder, was there anything which might put an end to this myth? Or were they cursed to cower beneath a cloud of mysterious menace forevermore? Were they afraid of just a man? Or was it something more than that? Some sort of living boogeyman haunting the fringes of society. What are the fringes of society anyway, and where do you find them? I don't really care. I'd rather be haunting society's creamy center. Police are refusing to comment on any questions regarding Dr. Destroyo, said someone official. But unnamed sources from within the police force have suggested to us that the authorities are not comfortable with Rex Challenge's assertion that he can bring together a team of private citizens to locate and subdue Dr. Destroyo. That was followed by some footage of a shaky handheld camera's perspective chasing after a uniformed police officer. Though his face was off screen, the officer could clearly be heard growling, "Rex Challenge is so full of shit that he doesn't even know it. The last thing we need is a bunch of untrained, mentally unstable freaks out there fucking up our cases." And yet the cops weren't outlawing the costumes or the masks. They were frowning upon them and making sounds about changing some of the rules the kids were playing by. But really, everybody was just treading water, giving interviews and trying to sound like they knew what they were talking about. When really, nobody knew anything. Costume vigilantes. Are they a real threat to the city and to law and order? Or are they merely a benign menace, like graffiti or shoplifting? Christine Ng spoke with Rex Challenge downtown earlier today. Cut to Rex Challenge, smiling broadly. Rex clearly loved being on TV, especially for the news. While his outfit didn't have the expensive appeal of the Solution's multi-million-dollar rubber mold, Rex looked somehow more authentic, more real. He looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. An actor with a well-rehearsed part. The police, Rex explained, are just scared of us because of what we represent. And what is it that you represent, Mr. Challenge? Asked Christine. In one hand, she held a slim black microphone, which was pointed at Rex Challenge's chin. Call me Rex, Rex said with a dashing grin. This was edited for TV, which means they chose to leave his smile in. The smarmy bastards. I tried not to grind my teeth too much, and instead worked at putting my frustrated energy into my exercises. We represent what we have to, with these public personas we're creating, Rex explained. We're talking about working with higher ideals. We're talking about representing the cultural evolution of positive human traits. Think of us as a new species, Homo moral superior. You're saying it's the perspective of your organization that you are somehow better than other people? No, Rex said quickly. Not better. We aren't better. But we're people who are trying. Trying to be better. To try harder. To push further. We are driven to it. Not because we can, but because we must. It's all about choice, you see? Again with that fucking smile. We choose to do good things, just as Dr. Destroyo chooses to ruin lives. Rex stared into the camera imploringly, as if he knew I was watching. I mean, really, just imagine what he could accomplish if he were to use his abilities for good, to help people. Yeah, just imagine what I could accomplish if I used my awesome powers of smoking dope and murdering people for good. Just imagine all the people I could help and all the joy I could spread. What a fucking moron. Chapter 66. You can build a pretty powerful electroshock weapon with little more than common household items, according to the internet. Hell, you can build all kinds of things according to the internet. The world is full of bored, middle-class guys creating crazy shit and then posting the blueprints up where everybody can find them. Hand-mounted flamethrowers, jetpacks, remote-controlled robots, flying spy cameras. And I didn't have to stay focused on building stuff since there was so much I could afford to purchase. That's the old cliche about money. It can't buy you happiness, but it sure gets you everything else. I still had to do something about my physical form. I'd put on a fair amount of weight since the killing of Mr. Scorpio, much of that weight due to the extreme levels of depression I felt whenever I took off my mask. Comfort eating, you know? The fact that I was a chronic pot smoker didn't help either, as I was in no way immune to the snacking compulsions that came along with that habit. Still, once I started trying to eat better and getting a bit of exercise, the weight didn't exactly melt right off, but I did stop progressing so quickly towards grandiose obesity. It was easy, too, not having anything else to do except work on myself. Most days I just sat around doing low-impact exercises and getting ideas off the internet. I read up on serial killers and did bicep curls. I studied schematics for electrical assault devices for an hour, followed by an hour of stomach crunches and push-ups. Later in the evening, I'd wind up watching cartoons and eating a little ice cream. Just because, what's the point of being a murderous supervillain if you're not going to indulge your base desires from time to time? And meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Rex Challenge and his strange band of cronies were massing and plotting. They were readying themselves to come against me. I learned a little yoga, and I read up on practical forms of physical defense. I familiarized myself with pressure points on the human body and how to know if a gun's safety was on or off. I knew a lot of what I was learning wouldn't mean much until I put it into practice, but it still felt good to be filling my head with the sorts of ideas that at some point might save my life. My body wasn't my own anymore. I was a tool of destruction in the hands of a larger idea. My mind was a death ray aimed at the center of the earth. My hands had taken lives. My eyes had seen strange sights, not meant for ordinary mortal men. My life was a strange kinetic blur of blood and self-proclaimed glory. I kept the mask on as much as I could. I meditated, which is to say I sat around and thought about everything that could ever trouble me until there was nothing left to think about. I sat cross-legged on the living room floor, contemplating the idea of endless space, eternal emptiness, the inexhaustible and the inexpressive. Imagine the moon reflected in a lake, and then a ripple spreads out across the surface of the water. I am the lake. I am the moon. I am the stone. I am the ripples. And I did drugs. I smoked weed like a chimney, and I dropped acid every couple of weeks. The acid I bought off the dealer who hung out in front of the pizza place. Tiny squares of thick cardstock printed with psychedelic demons. It tasted just vaguely of something bitter and metallic. My trips were spent mostly in deep contemplation of the terrible fury that had consumed my existence. The chaos and confusion felt good. Of course it felt good. Why would I have kept doing it if it didn't feel good? Drugs and madness and masks blended together like a perfect mixed drink. A deadly killer cocktail, just the right parts, whiskey and cyanide. I got high and kissed the morning star. I got high and lost and found myself. I felt good about myself. I felt like something special. I just needed a plan.
Dr. Destroyo is written and produced by Hank Pattison for the Death by Media Man podcast channel. You can subscribe to the Death by Media Man podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. If you enjoyed this, please leave us a like or a comment and tell a friend. And if you'd like to support the Death by Media Man channel with your money, there's a link to our Patreon in the description of this program. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next installment of Dr. Destroyo.